All right, Reggae Massive, welcome back to part two of the mix. We're going to continue on where we left off. Just before we get started, somebody did mention in a comment about gain staging, and I am using a lot of analog modeled plugins, so it is something I pay attention to, but this particular track, I didn't have to adjust much. I'm going to show you what I do. Generally, if we look here at this guitar part, I did lower this 7.8 dBs, but I just grab the handle here and adjust usually for my gain staging. Put that back where it was. And I think I adjusted a couple drum parts. Yeah, the kick, you can see the line is not up at the top, so the kick was lowered a bit. And as well as the hi-hat. That was dropped down about 7 dB. All I do is I just try to make sure that my peaks are usually between -10 to -8. I don't get overly scientific with it. I don't put an RMS meter on it to check or anything. If I'm not overdriving the plugin when I go in and getting too much saturation or distortion, then I'm not worried about it. If it sounds good, it's good. Just the organ is a little bit low there. I could have turned it up, but honestly, there was no reason to really adjust it. I just left it where it was, and I dealt with it in the mix by adjusting the levels there. So we are going to continue on. I want to show one thing that I left out to wrap up the drums, which is I do have a clipper on the drums, on the kick, the snare, the timbali, the toms. So let's take a look at that. So I have them going to a group track, and then from there they're going to a full group track for the drums. Okay, joining up with everything else. And I just used the T-Rax Classic Clipper. Let's see what it's doing. So you can see there it's taken off between 2 to 3 dB on the hits. It's not really changing the sound overall. I was able to just adjust the level then, boost up the main sound of the drums a little bit, the body, and get a little more volume out of it by cutting the peaks a bit. And if you remember, there were some peaks being cut with some saturation on the individual channels as well. So I think those little cuts together is plenty enough to help the drums cut through and prevent, overs on peaks or problems in mastering. Let's check out the next couple instruments. Usually after the bass, I like to add in the muted guitar part if it's doubling the bass line, which it usually is. So let's take a listen to that. All right, that's the raw part. I had console 1 on it, and then I added a phaser. So let's see what we're doing here with console 1. Let's turn it on. I put a gate on it to clean it up. I'm going to just turn off the compressor and the EQ a bit there. Let's listen to the gate. So it's just making it a little more punchy, just stopping some of the notes from ringing out a bit too much on that gate. And after that, we have the EQ. so I just cut a little bit of low mids at 330 hertz and gave a little high boost at 5.3 dB at 3 kilohertz. Right? My cut was about 3.5 dB. Nothing too major, crazy going on there. And then the compressor, let's see what we have there. I used an 1176 style compressor again. It's soft tube FET compressor Mark II. And I'm just trying to catch some peaks I could see because I have the ratio set high at 8:1. Fast attack. The release is fairly fast. Let's see what difference it's making. So it is just evening things out a bit, cutting some peaks, and I was able to just boost the level a bit and get that mute guitar sounding a little more even. Let's just mute or solo the track and listen to it with and without. Right? So you can hear it's a bit louder because I purposely used the compressor to cut peaks and raise the level a bit. All right? Nothing major. I did use the drive just slightly, like 5 is default on here. I just put up a very little bit and I adjusted the character on the drive up a bit to accent more the higher mids again. It's not a big shift on that. So that's fairly subtle. Just a small thing in the mix that does help it to sit in a bit better. Let's just take a look and see. Yes, I did put on a low cut or a high pass filter at 160 hertz just to get rid of any low end that we don't really need on the guitar. You can definitely hear a difference there if you have some good headphones or good monitors on. It's just sounding a little brighter, jumping out a little more. And let's see what the phaser is doing. Right, so I'm using D16, The Godfather. I assume it's a joke on the Godfather movies. So, yeah, I put that on again just to help it jump out, help it pop out a bit more, as the muted part is a little bit, it's a little bit dull, kind of. I mean, it would still sit in the mix and sound good, but I just wanted it to pop and add a little more vibes to the track. Let's just play it without it and turn it on for you. Yeah, so it just thins out the sound a little bit more again. And I like the vibe that it's adding to the song. A little bit of movement on the muted guitar part, you know. Let's take a look at the organ now. That's usually the next thing I like to throw on is the bubble. So let's move to the organ. It is already on. Let's see what we did here. Where does it go? I have a group, a bubble group. We got console 1 on it. So let's see what we did. So there's the raw track. I did put the gate on just to get rid of the buzzing a little bit. Then there's a low cut at 150 hertz. And I put up some drive to add a little vibes to it, a little flavor. It's a very clean sound, so I just wanted to give it a little bit of saturation on it. And I put the character up to 1.5, again to accent some of the higher mids and the high end. Again, it's subtle stuff. No major changes. I didn't have to do lots of EQ on it at all. I didn't put the compressor on it. Let's take a look at the reverb that I used. So it's not so much a reverb, it's a capture of a live studio room, T-Rax Fame. I can make it a little larger for you. And so you have settings for where you would put the bass, the drums, the keys and organs, vocals, guitars, and piano, based on where they set up the instruments in the room and record. Nothing major done here, really. It's just to add some of that fullness again, and a little bit of a room sound, as everything was recorded direct on this. And being live instruments, you know, it's nice to have that room sound in the song, not just everything going in dry or just with a big reverb on it. It gives you a sense of space, but without really drenching everything in reverb. So you can really hear the difference there. For the organ, it can take quite a bit, as like what I put on it. Now we are going to move on to vocals, as usually what I like to do next is throw the lead vocal on. So let's unmute that, see how it's sounding.
Why? And too much blood around in a jam down. Why?
Yeah, so it's nice and clean. First thing I did, I put on press work. This is really catching peaks. Again, it's kind of set in a limiter type of fashion, high ratio, hard knee, and not doing a lot. But also I use the saturation. But the saturation is somewhat connected to the dynamics, as you see that's up here. So that means that it's really only saturating more when the peaks hit and easing off on the body of the sound.
And too much blood around in a jam down.
Yeah, so it's not making a big difference to the sound, and that's what I wanted. I just wanted to catch any off peaks. You could see the meters are hardly moving there. They may kick in a little bit harder here and there, but I mean, the waveform is looking pretty even. There's nothing jumping out really bad. So it's just to make sure that it keeps anything from going into the next plugin too hard, really. And then I use console 1, so let's turn that on. See what difference this makes here.
Only Jah can help us in this time. I just want kind. Why? And too much blood I run.
So there you could hear the difference. Let's see what the gate is doing.
In a jam down. Why? And too much blood I run. In a jam.
Yeah, so it's just getting rid of a little bit of headphone bleed. The track is really clean. There's not a lot of noise in there. Just a little bit of headphone bleed and leaving the breaths in. So nice little setting on that. Nothing too harsh. And the EQ, let's kick that in.
I'm down. Why? Yeah. We need to make a change now.
So just adding a little bit of little high-end shelf at 6.4 kilohertz, 2.7 dB. There's a little boost down there as well at 1.8 kilohertz, 2.6 dB. It's running together into the shelf. Just adding a little bit more that, the high end in there, not super high, but it's a nice point for his voice to pop through.
Before it's too late, hey, and Judge are always by our side. Just in a being.
Yeah. Then I got a cut at 1 kilohertz. Get rid of a little bit of a nasally kind of sound is usually what's around there on vocals. Let's see what it sounds like when we cut that out.
He will guide you, and too much blood I run. In a jam down. Why? And too much blood.
Yeah, just bringing a little more clarity. And I got a little low-end boost at 172 hertz to keep a little fullness in and offset, balance out the high shelf a little bit.
Only Jah can help us in this time. I just want kind. Why? And too much blood I run.
The compressor, don't have a real heavy ratio on it, 3.5 to 1. Attack at 10 milliseconds, almost 11. Release is 40 milliseconds. And we can see on the meter where it's going.
In a jam down. Why? And too much blood I run. In a jam down. Why? Yeah. We need to make a change now.
Yeah, so we're around 3 to 6 dB, sometimes popping just over that. Again, it's just leveling out the performance a bit. It's pretty good. It's pretty smooth as it is. Just wanted to get rid of any inconsistency that might be in there. Got the drive turned up to 6, which is still kind of subtle. It's not really driving hard on the channel. I turned the character up to 2.1 again to accent some of the higher mids and stuff. And there's a low cut on the vocal at 80 hertz just to clean up that any rumble, anything that might be down there. You don't need that on vocals in the range where this is being sung here. So let's kick it in for a second and move on.
Before it's too late, hey, and Judge are always by our side. much blood I run.
All right, so I also put the vocals in the room. Let's see how that sounds.
Blood I run. In a jam down. Whoa. And too much blood I run. In a jam down. Whoa.
Again, it's just putting everything in the same room. So let's kick on the reverb.
Blood I run. In a jam down. Whoa.
So nothing really drastic, not killing it, not drenching it. Let's see what we used for this reverb here. Well, first of all, before the vocal reverb, I did put a compressor on it just to smooth out the sound going into the reverb and giving a more smooth of a reverb out so the levels aren't adjusting how the reverb is hitting so much.
I do, and too much blood I run. In a jam down. Whoa. And too much blood I run.
And I use Eventide Stereo Room, vintage version, vintage model, as they have different rooms you could use here, modern and vintage, rooms and plates. Again, it's not really high. It's 1.9 second decay. And the nice thing with this reverb is it has this position, so you can set things more towards the front or more towards the rear, and it just makes a difference how the sound is processed then, and does give it a little more front to back type of vibe. So it's a cool feature. So that's about it. And the delay isn't doing much. It's down kind of low. I think I used Native Instruments Replica XT on that.
In a jam down. Whoa. And too much blood I run.
Yeah, so it's a little bit dark. What did I use there? The tape delay. I didn't want the brightness ringing out. And it's just a couple repeats, you know, and that's the end of it. So just gives a nice little feel to the vocals, sets them in a nice space. Let's move on to the rhythm instruments here.
In a jam down. Whoa. Blood I run. Blood I run. Blood I run. Blood I run.
All right, so there we are with the rhythm guitar and the piano in. Let's see what we did here. The rhythm guitar got a low cut up pretty high, 191 hertz. And then again, the FET compressor on it is just catching some peaks. A little bit of the character turned up a bit. Again, accent some of the higher mids.
Blood I run. Blood I run. Blood I run. Blood I run. Too much blood I run.
All right, it's hardly doing anything really. It's not affecting the sound in a major kind of way. The sound is good as it was. And let's see, let's not solo those. Let's just play out the piano, see what we're doing there.
Boy, in a jam down. Boy. Blood I run.
So the piano was sent in 2 separate tracks, left and right. I just left them like that because I'm sending them to a group anyways, along with the guitar. So console 1 on this, put a little gate on it. Let's solo Let's solo the pianos. So there's a raw sound. It's got a little bit of a tail on it, so I use the gate on console 1. Let's turn them back on and bring one up. So I just cut that off a bit, just to let the bang come through, really. And the EQ, let's listen to what it's doing. So there's no EQ right there. And so you can hear the difference here when I kick it in. It's just going to be a little brighter, a little cleaner on the bottom end, not so muddy. That's it, and a little slight bit of compressor on it. Characters turned up very little, 0.7. It's not making a big impact again. The compressor is at a low ratio, 2.7 to 1. Bit of a slow attack, 17.4 milliseconds. The release is around 200 milliseconds. And it's just sticking it all together again, just to even out any little performance hits that might be a little harder, a little softer here or there.
Time, I just want crime. Why?
And to just visit back the guitar, I have it panned off to the left 58, and both of the piano tracks, I have the right one all the way to the right, and I have the left pulled over towards the right side at about 18. So it's just offsetting the piano instead of coming out both sides. Just moved it to one side to let the guitar come through a little cleaner on its end, right? The organ, just to go back there, is left, hard right. No changes on that for the panning.
And too much blood run in a jam down. Why? And too much blood run.
I just want to show you the difference that the room is making on the instruments, okay? So I'm going to play it with the room groups muted, so you're not going to hear any of the room sound, and then I'll turn it on.
In a calm down. Why? We need to make a change now before it's too late.
So it's just adding a nice little bit. It's subtle, but believe me, it's in there, and it's adding that nice little bit of a room sound, putting the instruments all together in one space. It does make a difference. Let's mute the vocals so that we can hear it a little better. So there it's muted. It's nice to hear. You can hear it a little more clearly with the drums off as well. Right, so it's quite an impact to the song, really. It's very noticeable, although you don't notice it when it's on. You notice it when it's gone. And that's the way you want some elements to be in your mix. The way I want it to be, anyways. So everything is not so obvious in your face, but it's adding to the overall vibe for sure. So that's a good place to stop right now. When we come back next session, we will add in the lead guitars. There's some lead keys. There's also the horns to put in, the backing vocals, and then there's some automation stuff probably to look at, okay? All right, so bless up, Reggae Massive. Thanks for checking out and stopping in and spending some time here. I hope this helps you out in some way or just gives you ideas to try. In the meantime, go make some music. How you mean?